I've booked us spa sessions today, a haircut after, all in preparation for tomorrow's party.
Party?
After years away from her life as Princess of North America's second largest pack, Marcy wondered why she'd been summoned so suddenly.
I'm not sure if you remember me. I'm Nora, Beta Raymond's daughter.
Of course I remember you.
What are you wearing to the party tonight?
Marcy was confused. What were her parents hiding?
I'm gonna go to the bathroom, Nora.
I'll come with you.
No, it's okay. I'll be right back.
After a childhood in this gilded cage, Marcy was already plotting an escape mission back to Europe. In an instant, Marcy's wolf knew.
My mate.
Upon turning 21 4 months ago, Marcy started to lose hope that her mate existed. Now she was his, and she wanted him to take her V card.
I'm Marcy.
George.
And you're part of the Red Moon Pack? My father's Alpha Edward.
I'm a nobody. I was just cleaning the training grounds. I'm an Omega.
Marcy was horrified. The moon goddess mated her with an Omega, the lowest of all pack members.
I'm so sorry, but I reject you.
Alpha Damon of the Dark Howlers Pack will be visiting tomorrow. They'll be here in time for lunch.
I'm not a puppet, Elder Parker! No desperate pride or damn prophecy will change that!
As Alpha of the Dark Howlers, North America's largest wolf pack, Damon is under pressure to find a mate. Unfortunately, he doesn't want one. But Elder Parker has a plan up his sleeve that will secure him power.
Alpha Damon, your status does not render you above taking a mate. The Princess of the Red Moon Pack would serve as the perfect alliance.
Enraged, Alpha Damon deleted the email from Elder Parker.
Give up already!
Damon's vices were vast. Among the worst were his escapist tendencies. Like last night, when he ditched Elder Parker for an attractive she-wolf. Sex was never Damon's issue. It was connecting with women on a deeper level that struck him as dangerous. But his refusal to take a mate was now creating problems for more than just him.
Do you really have to go?
You know I do, baby. Beta's work is never done.
Caden was beta of the pack, so his desires came second to Damon's needs. And what Damon needed today was a reality check.
Be good for me while I'm gone.
Yeah? Only if you make it up to me later.
Oh, I plan to. Elder Parker? He said what? I'll talk to him.
Caden knew better than anyone why Damon didn't want a mate. They grew up together, studying, training, learning the werewolf legacy. But everything changed when Damon's parents died in an ambush. At just 17 years old, Damon might have been the best warrior in his age group, but he wasn't prepared to lead the Dark Howlers pack. Elders pressured Damon to hand over his power. Alphas from other packs strove to take Damon's territory. While Caden and other Werteens found mates, Damon was focused on the prosperity of the Dark Howlers. He rejected hundreds of she-wolves who threw themselves at him for a chance to be the new pack Luna. In his mind, potential mates were all just power-hungry opportunists who couldn't be trusted. Impossible as it seemed, Caden now had to convince Damon to let in a mate. The question was, how?
Come in.
Why'd you shut down the mine link?
I didn't! I only shut you out.
Oh, so I wouldn't hear about how you ditched Elder Parker. Damon, he called. You can't just dodge duty to go chasing tail. This Marcy, what's her name, could be the one.
After hundreds of duds, it's doubtful.
Look, I know the elders have been on your ass lately, but seeing her is the only way to appease them. And maybe it's a chance. If not, to hook up with a sexy, black-haired she-wolf.
Sexy? Please. She's a virgin.
According to her father, but fathers lie all the time to marry off their daughters, especially alphas. All I'm saying is if you don't want to make this trip about wooing Marcy, make it about the recon. Right? Make it a cover. Who knows, you might get some important intel at the pack house. Huh?
4-day trip, just for a chick.
With a recon.
Fine, but you're coming with.
Okay.
Tell Maya to start packing. Goddess knows she'll take forever.
I'll tell her right now.
Cool.
Whenever Damon was in a bind, he retreated into his wolf. It first spoke the night his parents died.
Sorry, kid.
Reluctantly, Alpha Damon recovered the deleted email from Elder Parker.
Just one mission, kid. In and out. See you soon, Marcy Redmayne.
Will Marcy's family find out about George? Will she hit it off with Alpha Damon? Or are they both destined for a match made in hell?
Early morning had arrived when Alpha Edward called Marcy into his study. Other than her father, Luna Layla, James, aka the brother, Beta Raymond, and Nora joined them. Based on this lineup, Marcy knew something important loomed. Panic swelled within her. Did they hear about her rejecting George? Marcy told herself to calm down. Being rejected brought great shame, so George probably didn't share that with anyone, and she kept her lips sealed. Or did someone see them kissing in the garden? Even if that happened, kissing didn't seem a big deal. Marcy already spun a story in her head about how it resulted from a dare or a bet.
Sit, Marcy,
Alpha Edward commanded. As she sat on the chair, he announced,
Alpha Damon of the Dark Howlers pack comes to visit us tomorrow. He will arrive in time for lunch.
Marcy didn't understand why that required her presence, or why it sounded so official. It seemed just a guest, an alpha. He would join them for lunch and maybe dinner and spend the day with her father.
The Dark Howlers pack stands as the largest pack in North America,
Luna Layla chimed in while looking at Marcy meaningfully. Marcy nodded in acknowledgement. She knew this. Marcy spent the last 10 years in Europe, but she remained aware of the major events among packs. Alpha Damon made quite a reputation for himself as a fierce warrior, undefeated among alphas. Other alphas admired him, feared him, and despised him at the same time, because Alpha Damon got his position very young, and he didn't take anyone's nonsense. The word spread that Alpha Damon had a nasty temper. Marcy guessed that her father hated Alpha Damon. Nothing personal, but because of the Dark Howlers pack, the Red Moon pack ranked second, and her father hated being second. Sprinkling salt to his wounded ego, Alpha Damon stood half of her father's age, so that added to it. Marcy wondered why her father smiled, and his next few words answered Marcy's silent question.
He comes to meet you and discuss with me the deal for you to become his Luna.
Marcy's world stopped. Deal to become his Luna? Luna? Like marriage Luna? And then everything fell into place. All the classes and training she took. Her parents let her pick whatever she wanted as long as she took etiquette lessons, as well as various classes related to house and budget management. It all pointed to the possibility of her parents grooming Marcy to be the lady of the house. A big house. Probably a Luna. Marcy understood that her parents worked on this for some time, maybe from the day she was born. When Marcy returned, the first thing her father asked was if she was mated, probably to eliminate any potential problems. Marcy shook her head inwardly while thinking how good it seemed she didn't tell anyone about George, and she hoped that he kept his mouth shut about them being mates, because if that had reached her parents' ears, George would face trouble. Marcy looked at her parents. From the beginning, they prepared her for this. and she knew that the probability of an arranged marriage loomed high. However, Marcy hoped that it would involve more of them meeting and getting to know each other before they discussed marriage, and not this business transaction. Marcy glanced at Nora and wondered if Nora knew about this in advance. Did it matter? It wouldn't change anything. Luna Layla smiled excitedly.
What do you say, Marcy?
Marcy grit her teeth. What kind of a stupid question was that? Did she have a choice to oppose?
I am still taking in this information,
Marcy responded ambiguously. Alpha Edward spoke up.
You have until tomorrow afternoon to take it in and adjust your attitude.
Marcy noticed his expression darken.
A lot of things depend on this marriage, so you better leave a good impression.
Marcy responded with a tight smile. How could she forget that her father did everything for his own gain? He probably saw Alpha Damon as a youngster that he could easily manipulate. It would be stupid to think that this was ever about Marcy.
Yes, Father,
was the only thing Marcy could say.
If you excuse me.
Luna Layla gave eye signals to Nora to follow after Marcy. From the day Marcy returned, Nora's job was to ensure Marcy didn't do anything stupid. This crucial time for Marcy required her to accept her reality and stay composed. That's what they raised her for. Marcy's mind spun after receiving the news that she would meet Alpha Damon, the alpha of the notorious Dark Howlers pack, and her future husband the next day. She hadn't yet recovered from finding and rejecting her mate, and now she needed to think about another man. This wasn't just any man. Alpha Damon carried a grim reputation on the battlefield and an even worse reputation with women. Seeking solitude to think, Marcy went to her room. To her horror, Nora followed 2 steps behind, cooing about how this turned out to be the best thing ever. Marcy felt exasperated when Nora entered her room.
What do you know about Alpha Damon?
Marcy asked irritably. Nora whipped out her phone.
Very handsome. Someone took this photo 2 months ago when he visited the Silverburn Pack. I have a friend there, so we exchanged hottie-related information, and Damon qualifies as a hottie. I can't believe he's coming here.
Marcy looked at the photo Nora showed her. She had to admit, he looked handsome.
I guess with you marrying him, I'll have the hottest info on him.
Nora grinned at Marcy.
You'll be okay with me reporting things to my friends about your hot husband, right? Damon being married won't make him any less handsome, and we're only talking and looking, not touching.
Marcy let out an exasperated sigh.
Take as many photos as you want. It's not like I own the guy. This all came from my father for the benefit of the pack. No one asked how I feel about this.
Nora cocked an eyebrow at Marcy.
How do your feelings change the fact that you're set to marry the hottest werewolf in North America? He has looks, money, and thousands of warriors at his disposal. I can only imagine how lavish his mansion must be. His territory stretches larger than ours and has forests, lakes, and mountains as far as your eyes can reach. It will all be yours. What about his womanizing?
Marcy raised an eyebrow. Nora rolled her eyes as if Marcy asked something silly.
Hello? Damon leads as the alpha of the largest pack in North America. He never lost a challenge, and he's young, handsome, and single. Do you expect him to be a monk? Women throw themselves at him. If he says a word, an endless line of beauties will form and wait for him to claim them.
Marcy groaned.
I don't mean hookups. Didn't you hear about numerous women offering themselves as brides and Alpha Damon rejecting them?
Nora shrugged.
1 or 100. Why does that matter? Do you put yourself on the same level as them? You're beautiful, well-educated, and your father leads as the alpha of the Red Moon Pack. Even if Alpha Damon doesn't fall for you right away, as long as he doesn't reject you, you'll get your chance to seduce him.
Marcy agreed with this assessment. She possessed all the qualities Nora mentioned and more. She hadn't met a guy who refused her. No matter how many layers Alpha Damon had around him, Marcy felt confident that she could win him over. At the mention of rejection, Marcy remembered George, the Greek god who gave her a few minutes of bliss before the harsh truth plunged her into agony. Did Damon have a mate or someone he preferred? Marcy felt confident that a guy like Damon probably had several women at home willing to please him. What if he had a harem?
Do you know if Alpha Damon found his mate? Maybe he did, and things didn't work out,
Nora mused.
But you should focus on the fact that he's available. After you complete the mating ceremony, it won't matter if his mate exists out there, because the bond between the two of you will form and overshadow any others. You'll become the Luna of the most powerful pack, and he'll adore you.
Marcy pursed her lips while thinking about Nora's words. Luna, Marcy. Luna of the most powerful pack in North America. It didn't sound bad. The fact that Alpha Damon looked young and good-looking added a bonus. Only a fool would pass such an opportunity. Marcy told herself that no matter what mate the moon goddess set for her, she could choose her mate. If they completed the mating process, any other bond would disappear, including this longing Marcy felt for George. Marcy put her hand over her chest. She rejected him. Why did she still feel restless whenever she thought of him?
Are you okay?
Nora looked at Marcy with concern in her eyes.
Yes.
Marcy quickly plastered a smile on her face.
Tomorrow's a big day. Help me pick what to wear. Unfortunately, I didn't pack some of my favorite dresses, and we might need to go shopping.
Nora squealed at the possibility of shopping, her favorite pastime. While Marcy and Nora went through Marcy's closet, at the Dark Howler's pack, Damon was exiting the pack house. Just like every time he left for longer than one day, he stopped and observed the 3-story-high majestic building. The first floor contained common rooms, where pack members gathered and entertained guests. The second floor housed offices, guest bedrooms, and Beta's quarters. The third floor remained reserved for Alpha and his family. Damon remembered the time when the pack house buzzed with life. When he lived as a child, it always buzzed with activity. His mother, Luna Violet, knew how to attract people. She exuded kindness, with the warmest smile under the moon, and everyone loved her. Now, just a handful of them stayed in this huge mansion. Regular pack members had their own dwellings in the area, and they came to the pack house only when they had business or when Alpha hosted an event, which didn't happen very often. It felt quiet. Damon turned to the car where Caden and Maya waited for him. The time came to head to the Red Moon Pack and meet Marcy, the next candidate for his Luna.
Cheer up,
Caden shouted from the car at Damon.
You look like you're going to a funeral, and not to get laid. The mental image of a fine woman like Marcy spreading her legs for you should make you happy.
Maya slapped Caden over her shoulder.
What?
Caden tried to sound innocent. Maya rolled her eyes at him.
Why can't you pick your words a bit better?
Maya scolded him. Caden smirked.
Since when do you mind when I talk dirty?
It's fine when it's only the two of us,
Maya whispered. Caden chuckled before pulling her closer to give her a smacking kiss on the lips. Damon observed their lovers' banter, and it made him feel even more unenthusiastic about the upcoming trip. It would be a long drive, and he would be forced to watch the PDA between those two lovebirds.
Wait!
A breathy female voice called from the hallway, and a second later, a middle-aged, red-headed woman appeared at the main door with food containers in her hands.
This is food for the road. I don't want you kids to go hungry.
Damon stifled a laugh and shook his head. For her, they would always be kids. Damon accepted food containers without complaining.
Thank you, Steph.
Stephanie took care of the pack house, handling tasks that usually fell to a Luna, and Damon often joked that he would marry her. The Luna of the pack took care of the pack house, and she ensured that the pack members stayed happy, while Alpha handled security and made sure everything ran smoothly within the pack and with their external relationships, allies, and enemies. To explain Alpha and Luna roles in simple language, Alpha took care of the needs, while Luna took care of the wants. And only when Alpha and Luna worked in harmony could the pack grow and prosper. Damon didn't have a Luna, so those duties split between Stephanie and Maya, with Stephanie focusing on the pack house while Maya kept an eye on the pack members. Stephanie had been Damon's mother's best friend, and her mate served as the beta of the Dark Howlers pack when Damon's father, Alpha Jacob, led as the Alpha. Stephanie's mate died with Damon's parents. Stephanie had a daughter, Lisa, who turned 8 years old at that time, and Damon treated Lisa like his baby sister. With the demise of Alpha and Luna of the Black Howlers pack, the situation became unstable, and Stephanie couldn't leave Damon on his own. So she decided to send her daughter to her sister for safety reasons. It took about 2 years for Peace to return to the Black Howlers pack, and by then Lisa adapted to life with her aunt and uncle, and they decided that she would stay there. Lisa still visited occasionally, mostly during summer break and on holidays. For the last decade, Stephanie treated Damon as her child, and everyone in the pack loved and respected her. Stephanie watched as Caden started the car.
Drive safely.
The trio would save a lot of time if they went with a helicopter or a plane, but werewolves like to feel the ground beneath them and won't fly unless it's absolutely necessary.
Be back in 3 days,
Stephanie added meaningfully. Caden paused, thinking about his and Damon's schedule. There was nothing that would require their presence for at least 1 week. Any work that was pending could be done via phone, email, or video chat.
What's in 3 days?
Stephanie made an unhappy face.
Casey is coming.
Caden stifled a laugh and Maya grimaced.
What? Why?
Damon looked dejected. Stephanie narrowed her eyes at him.
You should ask her and not me. Casey wanted to come today, but I told her that you will be out for a few days on business. And then she changed her tune to how she will go to New York for 3 days and come here after that. Make sure you are back by then. I don't want to entertain girls who think they are my Luna.
Damon nodded obediently.
I will keep you informed of our schedule.
Before Stephanie could say anything more, Damon slipped in the backseat of the car and mind-linked Caden.
Drive. Now!
See you in a few days, Steph!
Caden shouted through the open window as they drove away.
Not a few! 3! Did you hear me?
Stephanie shouted after them and shook her head helplessly.
Kids.
Back in the car, Caden turned to Damon teasingly.
Man, you should tidy up your loose ends.
Damon groaned in frustration. If not for Caden setting him up with that blasted date, Damon wouldn't even know who Casey was. Casey was one of the bride candidates. About 3 years ago, Damon went to meet her, and they met. Intimately. Damon didn't know it was her first time, not that it would make any difference. Damon deflowered many girls, she-wolves and humans alike. But after Casey, he made a rule to stay away from virgins. Casey was a spoiled young lady, the daughter of Alpha Richard, and Damon wondered if she had marbles instead of a brain. Damon had rejected her many times, but she refused to accept it. She walked around telling people that they were planning her Luna ceremony. He shook his head to himself. The woman was delusional. Since their one night together, Casey showed up at the Dark Howlers pack occasionally, demanding that Damon marry her because she gave him her first time. Damon would probably imprison her or maybe make her disappear if that wouldn't risk a war with the Steelbite pack. The Steelbite pack, on its own, was not a problem. It was one of the smaller packs in the southeast. But Alpha Richard had many connections, even among the elders, and Damon didn't want to give them more reason to target him. To Damon, Casey was a temporary nuisance, and like many she-wolves who were throwing themselves at him, Damon could tune her out. Casey came about once a month, spent 2 to 3 days making a ruckus, and when she got tired, she left. As much as Damon could ignore Casey and block her attempts to crawl onto his lap or sneak into his bedroom at night, Stephanie felt like snapping Casey's neck whenever she heard Casey saying how she was the Luna. For Stephanie, there was only one Luna of the Dark Howlers pack, and she perished 10 years ago. How Stephanie saw it, every time Casey shouted she was Luna and tried to act like one, Casey was tarnishing the image of Damon's mother, the late Luna Violet. Stephanie was aware that one day Damon would find his Luna, and Stephanie hoped that the girl would be at least half as good as her deceased best friend. Casey was not good enough to clean Luna Violet's shoes, which were sitting boxed up for the last decade, and taking Luna Violet's position was out of the question. Damon exhaled sharply, releasing his tension together with last thoughts about Casey. With any luck, she wouldn't come, and he wouldn't need to deal with all that drama. Women like Casey enforced Damon's conviction that having a woman in life only brought trouble. He already had so much to deal with: managing the pack, balancing relationships with other packs, alliances, deals, concealed enmity, and all those damned elders who tried to manipulate him. Other than his mother and Stephanie, and maybe Maya, Damon didn't see any woman who could handle her own burden. That's why he didn't want a woman in his life. His hands were already full. If he needed to deal with whiny, pacifying women, he would go crazy. How Damon saw it, one-night stands offered perfection, and plenty of women wouldn't ask for more from a handsome stranger, especially she-wolves who had high libidos. Whenever he had time, Damon went outside his pack borders, into areas where no one knew him. He found a woman, they had fun, and by morning, he could go back to his duties without any strings attached. A clean break after an enjoyable night. Did that ask for too much? Unfortunately, Damon lived as something of a celebrity, and those few women with whom he spent more than one night started building expectations. He didn't want to deal with their tantrums, so he bailed. Damon's handsome eyebrow arched when he saw the caller ID.
Jade.
Ah, another of his exes, aka bride candidates. But this one hadn't called him in more than a year, so he decided to see what she wanted.
Yes?
Hi, Alpha Damon. Can we talk?
Damon hummed in confirmation. This embodied what he liked about Jade. She didn't beat around the bush, and she didn't play games. Damon remembered when he met Jade for a date about 2 years ago. Jade told him that she worked in modeling, and she had no plans to abandon her career, but she didn't oppose one night of fun.
We're already on a date. Why not enjoy it all the way?
She winked at him, and Damon agreed. In the morning, there were no hugs, no kisses, and no empty promises. Jade just left, which earned her a big brownie point in Damon's books, and that explained why he didn't block her number. Now it seemed that she had something on her mind.
Tell me,
Damon said.
I know you're still single, and that elders are pressuring you to get married more than ever, right?
Damon frowned and said sternly,
Get to the point, Jade.
Jade heard the alpha tone in Damon's voice, and she felt aroused. She couldn't help it. Every she-wolf reacted to a powerful male. It was in their genes.
My father is nagging me to quit my job and find a husband and all the other stuff I don't want to do, so I thought of you.
Damon looked confused.
Explain.
We can help each other. I'll stay at your place for a few days. We'll go out, take some photos, and make it look like we're in a serious relationship. That should pacify my father and the elders for some time. I can go back to my runway while you do whatever you do. When they start bugging us again, we'll repeat the process. What do you say?
You wanna be my fake girlfriend?
Damon chuckled to himself. Part of him thought that she presented a good idea.
Fake? Real? Those are just labels, right? We already shagged each other's brains out, so other than marking, we went as far as possible. This is something that could benefit both of us. If you want, we can sign a contract. I'll appreciate it if you don't meddle in my career and don't touch my money.
After a brief pause, Jade continued with urgency.
I need to go. The show starts in 5 minutes and I'm the first model. Think about it and let me know. If you have any conditions, I'm open for negotiations.
The call ended abruptly. Damon stared at his phone in surprise. Maya spoke with amusement in her voice.
So, will Jade be your pretend girlfriend? I hope not.
Caden sounded serious.
Damon, remember once they get in, it's a headache to kick them out. What if she wants more than pretending? And before you say how Jade is cool, let me remind you that she's crafty and ambitious. If she weren't, she wouldn't be such a successful model despite her father's objections.
Damon exhaled sharply as he agreed with Caden. All the irritation he left behind returned again. Women only brought trouble. Why couldn't they leave him alone? Meanwhile, at the Red Moon Pack, Anna carried a stack of plates into the kitchen.
Out of my way!
She spat angrily. Talia quickly stepped to the side, not wanting to attract attention. She never understood why Anna or other Omegas treated her like trash. She belonged to the same rank as they did. The only difference between them and Talia lay in their family situations. Talia lived as an orphan, while the others had families. No one stood up for her, and in the werewolf world, one won by strength or numbers. Unfortunately, Talia possessed neither, so she needed to submit or risk another beating. Talia read in a book that a good Luna should advocate for kindness and help the less fortunate, but Luna Layla didn't fit that description. Beyond worrying about herself, Luna Layla cared only about the flashy image of the Red Moon Pack. Talia huddled in the corner behind a big ficus and observed the commotion. The whole pack house buzzed with activity, and she overheard Omegas talking about an important guest coming for lunch. She muttered to herself,
Probably an alpha.
The pack house was a big mansion and served as home for the alpha, the beta, and their families. Guests also stayed there. Other pack members owned dwellings in the area, with size and proximity to the pack house reflecting the owner's standing within the pack. Talia lived as the sole exception. She was a nobody, residing in the pack house's attic. No one knew Talia existed as long as she completed her chores and stayed out of everyone's way. On a normal day, Talia thought of herself as a house mouse living within the walls without anyone noticing. Talia enjoyed when they hosted important guests because it meant plenty of food to go around, like during their party 2 days ago. That party amazed her. Talia listened to the music from the window she cracked open while munching on a full plate of various snacks she sneaked from the kitchen. The only bad thing occurred when the guest of honor, Princess Marcy, as other Omegas called her, bumped into Talia after she returned the empty plate. Luckily, Marcy didn't raise a fuss and even apologized. Talia felt confident that Marcy embodied a good person. When Talia cleaned Marcy's bathroom during one of Marcy's spa outings, she observed an array of beauty products she wouldn't even know how to use. Marcy's closet brimmed with fancy outfits, which confirmed to Talia that Marcy truly lived as a princess. Talia used the less-used passages to reach her room in the attic. The things inside looked old and dingy, but she kept it clean, and most of the time, no one bothered her. She smiled at the sight of 2 apples and a dinner roll on the napkin next to the futon where she slept. Normally, Talia stayed in her room during the day. At night, she completed her chores and used that opportunity to shower in a bathroom attached to one of the unused guest bedrooms. When everyone slept, Talia snuck into the kitchen to find food. Talia saw today as a good day. With an important alpha coming, a feast would definitely occur, which meant more leftovers. She lay on the futon riddled with holes and stared at the ceiling while munching on an apple. Talia liked to think of herself as a captured princess waiting for her prince to rescue her. But she knew she lived as no princess, and no prince existed for her. The previous Alpha brought Talia to the Red Moon Pack when she was a toddler. She heard rumors that the Alpha embodied kindness and power, but unfortunately, soon after Talia's arrival, he died, and his son Edward inherited his position. Alpha Edward eagerly proved himself, and in the werewolf world, that meant demonstrating strength and strategy. His strategy focused on warriors and military power, neglecting everything else. Of course, Alpha Edward's perfect image mattered, so Luna Layla took charge of making the pack house look glamorous and organizing parties. They sent their daughter Marcy to Europe to attend prestigious boarding schools in her early teens, and their son James busied himself with tutors even before he could walk properly. Between all that activity, Talia believed Alpha Edward and Luna Layla forgot about her existence. Talia turned 7 or 8 years old when Alpha Edward repurposed common rooms for additional training areas, and at that point, Talia lost her bedroom.
Where should I go?
Talia remembered asking while the people took the furniture out of her room. The woman paused.
The attic isn't used?
And there she ended up, in the attic. That happened more than a decade ago. Since then, Talia lived low-key, with Alpha and Luna not acknowledging her existence. They didn't ignore her on purpose. Talia simply embodied a quiet, inconspicuous girl with the talent for diminishing her presence. Talia came to the Red Moon Pack as a child and never went through the ceremony of joining the pack, so she lacked the mind link. That explained one of the reasons why Alpha Edward didn't know about her. But Omegas knew. They tended to bully Talia for the smallest mistakes, and over the years, Talia learned to keep to herself and avoid them effectively. She cleaned the bathrooms and emptied the trash in the pack house without anyone noticing. Talia shifted and groaned when a hard corner hit her lower back. She reached for the book that caused her pain. That would leave a bruise. Talia lived with the werewolves, but amounted to no more than a human. If not for her wolf speaking to her, Talia would have believed she truly lived as a human. Unfortunately, Talia heard her wolf for the last time about 4 years ago.
You're too weak to shift.
Talia's wolf spoke into her head.
If you force it, it might kill you.
Talia didn't feel her wolf since then and remained unsure if her wolf slept or if she vanished forever. Without her wolf, Talia lacked speed, strength, or enhanced senses, and her healing ability worked super slowly. On top of that, Talia suffered from malnourishment and stood much smaller than an average werewolf, making her look like a 15 or 16-year-old skinny girl instead of 19. Talia looked at the book in her hand and observed the illustration of a princess smiling and running with her prince. A castle stood in the background as they held hands and looked happy. Talia's eyes always wandered to the princess's shiny shoes. The book told the story of Cinderella, a poor girl abused by her stepmother and stepsisters. She then met a fairy godmother who magicked a fancy dress and shiny shoes so Cinderella could go to the ball, meet her prince, and live happily ever after.
What nonsense,
Talia thought.
The story contains rubbish. One's fortune can't depend on a pair of shoes.
Talia still cracked a smile. This book reminded Talia of Olivia, the only member of the Red Moon Pack who treated her as a person. Olivia left the pack about 1 year ago, and Talia missed her dearly. Every night, Talia hugged that book to sleep, remembering Olivia. Olivia lived 2 years older than Talia, and her father, Dr. Scott, worked as the pack doctor. Olivia would sneakily come to the attic and help Talia tend to her cuts and bruises. Olivia didn't dare to help Talia openly when others bullied her, but Talia never blamed her for it. Olivia taught Talia a lot about plants. which ones helped with swelling, which reduced pain, and so on. When Olivia noticed that Talia read slowly, she gave Talia the book about Cinderella.
Practice reading daily. This book will remind you that magic exists and dreams can come true.
Talia thought it sounded silly, but felt touched by the gesture and accepted the book. Last year, Olivia went away for a few weeks, and when she returned, she came to say her goodbyes.
Where are you going?
Talia never thought about leaving the pack, not because she lacked courage, but because she had no idea where she would go. Her knowledge about the world outside of the Red Moon Pack remained extremely limited, making her feel like a frog in a sealed well that couldn't even see the sky above. Olivia smiled dreamily.
I met my mate. I'm going to live with him. Larry waits for me at my house. I used the chance of Larry talking to my dad to come here and say goodbye.
Talia hugged Olivia and wished her all the best. Talia felt happy for her friend, even though she knew she would feel lonely. Olivia found her prince and headed toward her happily ever after. And Talia held her tears until after Olivia left. Talia placed her hand on the book about Cinderella and dozed off. Her duties started in the evening when everyone slept, so she could rest. By then, the guests would arrive, and all the buzz would end. Talia smiled at the thought of all the leftovers she would find in the kitchen. Damon, Caden, and Maya arrived at the Red Moon Pack late in the morning. Luna Layla apologized for her husband's absence.
He joined the scouts who picked up suspicious movements on the eastern border of our territory before dawn. Alpha Edward, being a hands-on leader, wanted to personally ensure our safety.
Luna Layla welcomed them warmly, personally showing them to their second-floor rooms.
Wow, this place looks glitzy.
Maya shared her thoughts with Damon and Caden through their mind link. Caden nodded in agreement.
You can say that again.
None of the three commented on the 2 lines of Omegas who bowed to greet them in front of the pack house. White marble covered the entry hallway floor, with matching tall columns reaching the 3-story high ceiling. The marble staircase curved elegantly upward, looking pure and flawless, perfectly complemented by golden rails and opulent crystal chandeliers that appeared to come from a fancy castle.
How many homes could one build with all this money if they toned down the luxury?
Damon grumbled through the mind link.
In the Red Moon Pack, only mated couples get a dwelling. Highly ranked warriors get a single home, while others get apartments.
Caden reminded Damon, who usually didn't care about the internal workings of other packs.
Everyone else above 12 years old lives in common buildings where 6 to 8 people share a room.
Maya frowned at this thought. In the Dark Howlers Pack, they had common buildings, but most pack members lived in single homes. Community buildings served teens who wanted to experience life away from parents, the elderly who desired their space while staying close to people their age, and for emergency situations, such as when someone's home caught fire, or for refugees until they found permanent housing. Damon continued his father's practice of treating everyone with equal importance, regardless of their occupation or gender. Omegas received the same privileges as warriors and doctors. After all, each member played an important role in the pack and deserved dignity. Giving preference to someone compared to others created an atmosphere where members inclined to choose an occupation, disregarding their interests only because of the benefits it brought. It easily led to inequality and the creation of social classes. Jealousy, feelings of superiority, and other negativity could easily take root. The Red Moon Pack became known for its military prowess, but only because Alpha Edward appreciated warriors and gave them better living conditions, which caused most able males to become soldiers. Maya felt the oppressive atmosphere the moment she stepped out of the car. 2 warriors stood stiffly on each side of the main entrance, with distant shouts from training groups. It felt like they arrived at a military compound rather than a pack where families lived.
Are you okay?
Caden rubbed Maya's shoulders reassuringly. She wondered if she made a face or if Caden noticed her uneasiness because of their mate bond. Maya glanced at Luna Layla before turning to Caden with a smile.
Fine. I'm just tired from the trip. Please, freshen up and join us downstairs. Lunch will be served in 1 hour. Food will replenish your energy and you can rest afterward if you wish.
Luna Layla encouraged, to which Maya responded with a nod.
Will Marcy join us for lunch?
Maya stopped before entering the room. The young miss and the reason for their visit hadn't welcomed them at the door.
Yes, she's getting ready,
Luna Layla said and glanced at Damon.
She wants to look her best.
Her best,
Caden repeated.
We look forward to seeing her best.
Luna Layla's smile froze. She would have snapped at Caden for making such an ambiguous remark. Why did he, a beta, want to see her daughter? But Alpha Damon stood right there with his icy stern expression that made her shrink. So she plastered a smile on her face and endured it. Damon entered his room and locked the door before heading to the bathroom. Since entering the Red Moon Pack territory, Damon felt uneasy, like an omen of unpleasant things to come. He wanted to shower and relax a bit because traveling with the constantly flirting or playfully bickering Caden and Maya exhausted him. Based on Luna Layla's overly enthusiastic welcome, Damon sensed his mood would only worsen. Damon had met several dozen she-wolves who tried to become his Luna, but this marked his first overnight stay in a pack house. Normally, he would meet the woman and her parents, take her out for dinner or to a nightclub, before they ended up rolling in the sheets in a hotel room. Compared to that, this seemed more like a meet the in-laws scenario, where he needed to stay for a few days and return home with a wife. That wouldn't happen. He wanted to talk to Alpha Edward and get to the bottom of what he wanted, other than Damon marrying Marcy. Some other expectations must have been attached to it. But unfortunately, Alpha Edward didn't join them for lunch, so that had to wait. Damon, Caden, and Maya ate in the lavish dining room that matched the rest of the villa, accompanied by Luna Layla, Marcy, and Nora. Marcy and Nora already sat at the table when Damon, Caden, and Maya arrived. They briefly shook hands while exchanging pleasantries. Alpha Edward and Beta Raymond remained absent, busy with scouts, and Luna Layla promised they would return soon and definitely join them for dinner. She also apologized for her son's absence, saying he exercised with warriors to build a strong character. During their meal, Luna Layla played the role of a good hostess. Marcy chose her words carefully, striking a balance between not being mute and not overstepping her boundaries, while Nora stole glances at Damon and blushed profusely. From Nora's perspective, life couldn't get better. The man from her wet fantasies sat at the same table, eating and talking. Every movement of his lips seemed seductive. She wondered what else he could do with those lips and with the rest of his body. She had shaken hands with Damon, and his grip felt solid and warm. She wished he would grip more than just her hand. Nora glanced at Marcy and wondered if she would mind if Nora made a move on Damon. After all, Marcy didn't seem possessive of her future husband, and Nora didn't want to snatch him for herself. Just a taste would suffice. One night. After lunch, Luna Layla turned to Marcy.
Marcy, why don't you show Alpha Damon the garden? Hydrangea blooms fully now, and you can use this chance to get to know each other.
Marcy glanced at Damon and smiled.
Are you interested?
For a walk?
Damon asked, and Marcy confirmed with a nod.
Since your father remains busy, I need to fill in the time with something.
Luna Layla's lips twitched. Why did Alpha Damon sound like he came for business with her husband instead of to meet Marcy.
I'm going for a walk,
Damon told Caden and Maya through the mind link. Caden smirked.
Have fun.
We will do our part,
Maya assured Damon. Caden and Maya had a task to investigate the Red Moon Pack and see if they could find anything Damon could use. Ideally, they would find dirt on Marcy, so Damon could label her as unworthy without making things up, and any negative information on Alpha Edward would serve as a bonus. In the garden, Damon and Marcy walked together. He observed Marcy with a raised eyebrow.
You seem uneasy.
Marcy glanced around, hoping she wouldn't see George. Or maybe she wished to see him. But she couldn't admit that to Damon because she would need to explain why George mattered, and that might complicate things. Other than Damon's icy demeanor, Marcy thought he looked good-looking and powerful. With his status, he had the right to be prideful. She didn't know Damon, but what she saw so far impressed her.
I would like for us to talk in private, and here we can be overheard.
Damon paused. He planned to delve deep into Marcy's character, but he didn't expect her to take the initiative less than an hour after they met.
How about my room?
Damon smirked when Marcy nodded in agreement.
Hey, I'm Marcy, if you're wondering what happens next. Download the Pocket FM app now and listen to the exciting episodes of The Alpha's Bride.